Umbra Initiative secret power is that it can take weapons that are, well, for the lack of a better term, meh, and make them feel awesome. And today, I'm using that secret power to make a full DPS hybrid skill build with 6 weapon damage cores and 6 skill tiers.
And if you don't know, now you know.
So by now, a lot of you probably know that the mechanical animal and its talent, the Future Perfection, got a really nice buff in Season 3 as part of Project Resolve. So they went through and rebalanced everything. And Future Perfection is one of those updates that really stands out in Season 3. Weapon kills grant 1 skill tier for 19 seconds and stacks up to 4 times. It used to be just 3 times, which means you had to have at least 3 skill tiers on your build in order to get to 6 skill tiers plus the overcharge. But now you only need 2. And there are so many ways to get just 2 skill tiers on your build without decreasing the efficacy of your damage if you're running a damage build. So here's a quick peek at the build to give you a gist of what we're talking about. And I can do a full breakdown here in just a moment, but there's a couple of important things I want to make sure you understand. One of them is the mechanical animal is built off of the SIG, an assault rifle that kind of hangs around the middle. It's got a pretty decent total damage. I have about 117,000 damage on this, 720 RPM, 50 in the mag. I have no expertise on this, but I probably should because I use it a lot. And then I have damage to targets out of cover. And then we got a pretty decent reload here because of the build. And then of course the talent. And Future Perfection also gives us overcharge if I didn't already mention that. So the thing is that the Future Perfection talent is extremely amazing for a lot of reasons, but the weapon itself, like how does it feel? And a lot of people would probably agree that it just doesn't feel that great, even if it is pretty darn powerful. And that's because that 720 RPM is like in no man's land. Like in the AK and the TKBs, those assault rifles, you accept the lower RPM because you have such damage coming out of your weapon. And then you have the higher RPMs like the 900s, 850 900s, and those feel really good. And you're accepting less damage because you got really good burst happening. But with the mechanical animal, it's not so much that it's not strong, it's just that it doesn't feel strong, whether it is or not. So Umbra does a lot of things. We're going to walk through that. But one of the things it does is make the mechanical animal feel awesome. And the reason why is it gives it a 30% RPM boost, which is a direct impact to your DPS. So that's definitely a good thing. That makes the mechanical animal feel awesome. It really does. And it's my favorite mechanical animal build. So by now you've probably seen a few of my other mechanical animal builds, the one where I run Striker, and that's definitely the strongest when it comes to just like raw damage. But this one brings more to the table than just damage. I would say that it brings more to the table than the Striker build. It's really all inclusive, and that's part of what Umbra does. And so you don't really want to compare Umbra to Striker like head to head because they do different things. Striker is intended to be a pure DPS setup, where Umbra is more of a hybrid DPS setup. It brings in a healing element, and it also brings in a different mechanic to how it stacks. And so it's a reverse stacker, and that means you're getting all of your stacks up front, and then it decreases from there, but it's really easy to pick up your stacks with its in and out of cover function, which ends up being pretty natural way to play. You won't see me making too many mechanical animal builds where I have a bunch of skill tiers on the build or skill damage and stuff like that. And the reason why is because with the mechanical animal, it's important that your build is already strong, that it's strong in the DPS side. And that's because you don't want your skills to outperform your weapon. Your weapon, the mechanical animal, has to get its kills in order for it to get its skill tiers to power up those skills. So if you have skills that are already strong, then what you'll see is that your primary weapon and your skills are competing with each other. And if your skills are winning a lot, then you're not maintaining your skill tiers. And so you're running around with kind of a weak build or a build that could be stronger.
Entering dog zone.
We only need 2 skill tiers on the build. So one of those is coming from Technician. That's giving us a skill tier, plus more damage to robotics and 10% skill damage. So cool. The other skill tier is coming from the Memento, and that's not all it's giving. It's going to give us a lot more here. So we got an armor core and a weapon damage core. I got crit chance here. Let's talk buffs. So this build is definitely leaning into the buffs, and it's a Slayer. When you have full stacks, which is 30, you're going to have 30% weapon damage, right? It's clean. The enemies can shoot you. They can't take it away. It's there. But when you get a kill, they're going to drop a trophy. And when you grab that trophy, you can get 5% more weapon damage for each red core you have. And that stacks not only on top of the 30% weapon damage you already have from the 30 trophies you gained before, but they stack with any future trophies you get too. So you'll get 30, 60, 90, 120, and so forth. So we have 6 red cores. We were able to manage to keep all 6 of our reds while getting 6 skill tiers and even a blue core tossed in there. That's making this weapon extremely strong because our weapon isn't just getting kills, but our skills are getting kills. And so we're littering the field with trophies. And when we get a kill, we're going to get 10% bonus armor. And because we're getting so many, that ends up being pretty helpful. It's not a lot, but because we're stacking kills, we're stacking that 10% bonus armor. And then we got 3% armor regen coming from that. And we're going to talk more about the regen because it's super helpful. And then we got the skill efficiency. So we're going to get 5% skill efficiency per skill tier. And we're eventually going to have 6 as we ramp up. But we're starting with 2. We'll have 30% skill efficiency. And that includes everything: skill health, skill damage, skill haste, duration, repair skills, you name it. Those stack too. So we're going to have 30% skill efficiency. And every time we pick up a trophy, when we have all 6 skill tiers, we're going to have 30, 60, 90, 120 of that as well. So you're going to have a very strong weapon and a very strong set of skills that each independently will be doing a good job of killing, but more importantly, your skills will be supporting your weapon, not outperforming it. So this is a 6 red core full DPS build with supporting 6 skill tier skills. What's great about the skills is that they do allow me to run less armor. And so I'm pretty comfortable here with just my 1 blue core coming off of the memento because the skills do such a good job of pulling aggro away from me. And every now and again, an enemy lays it on thick. And so I just pop and cover and pick up some heals from Umbra initiatives. Okay, let's hop over to the gear set. Umbra initiative, it gives you crit chance, very helpful for assault rifles. I feel like this set is intended for assault rifles because they have a hard time pulling in crits, and that's a good start. Then we have 30% reload speed, also helpful for the mechanical animal. That gets us to a very nice place. And then from the shadows into the light, yeah, this is really confusing, and I think the description itself just turns a lot of people off. But basically you have offensive and defensive stacks. When you're in cover, you build offensive stacks. If you stay in cover for a full 5 seconds, technically 6, because it takes a moment for it to realize you're in cover, that will equate to 30% RPMs and 100% crit damage. When you're out of cover for at least 5 seconds, you're going to build defensive stacks that equate to 8% armor regen over 5 seconds when you go back in cover. So it won't be active until you're back in cover. You gain your offensive stacks when you're in cover. You use your offensive stacks when you're out of cover. You gain your defensive stacks when you're out of cover. You use your defensive stacks when you're in cover. Even if you're an out of cover player like I am, you're still going in cover. For the mask, I got weapon damage and crits here. And then the chest piece, I really like running Umbra. To be honest with you, I don't run Umbra without the chest piece. Everything on the top is the same. I got crits here and then from the shadows. So that's what's doubling the gear set bonuses from 50 to 100% crit damage and from 15 to 30% RPM. And so I feel like you kind of got to run the chest piece. Without it, it just sort of seems not worth it. The gloves are weapon damage, crit damage. The knees are the same. And then finally, I'm putting on Palisades for 10% armor on kill. And then mine's all red. Not too hard to get this, actually. But if you want to put a blue core here, do it. I just decided to go in all red because I wasn't taking much damage thanks to the skills. With that being said, it's really nice getting the full buff on both sides, your skills and your weapon damage. And I mean from the short term. So when you grab that trophy, it's a full 30% skill damage and the full 30% weapon damage from a single trophy. So it's a big bump. Let's talk about the defensive side of things. So you will be taking damage from time to time, no doubt. You're gonna have the armor regen when you're in cover kicking in, and it's nice. It's nice when you're in cover, but you're also gonna have the 3% armor regen on top of that always happening from the memento. And I feel like that needs to be there. For the most part, I've preferred the memento with Umbra initiative because I feel like there needs to be a constant heal as well. And you can run a healer if you wanted to. You don't have to have the attack drone, and your 6 skill tiers will be driving up your heals on that as well. But since the striker drone does such a good job of pulling aggro, it's also in a way healing you by keeping damage off of you or distracting enemies from shooting you. On our normal DPS builds with Umbra, we like to run Gunner for the same reasons, to kind of supplement some heals when we're out of cover. Since we can't do that because we chose to run Technician, Palisades is a really nice upgrade to this build. And I have created versions of this build in the past before Feature Perfection was optimized. Basically, this build just got better thanks to Season 3. So let's take a look at my stats. 60% crit chance, and it says 92% crit damage, but because of the gear set, it's actually 192% crit damage. That's pretty darn good. And then the mods are pretty important here. I like running the 8x scope on my assault rifles, but there's nothing on the build that requires it. So if you don't prefer that, I recommend this one, the C79, for the 5% crit chance, but it also has a variable zoom, which is pretty nice. I have a crit chance here. And then I run the Omega suppressor. It's one of my favorite attachments. I try to put it on just about every weapon I can. And that's for 20% stability. Really allows me to have more control over those headshots. And I'm really trying to squeeze in a lot of those because this gives me 30% headshot damage, which is the equivalent of 10% headshot damage mods on your build. So not a little thing. And then we have the plus 20 rounds. So there's lots of things you can do with this build. If you want to go ahead and add protection from elites, you can do that. You can make a nice balanced build where you have 3 blue cores and 3 red cores, and you get all 6 skill tiers too. So whatever changes you do, just make sure you are not hampering your ability to maintain your 6 skill tiers. Thank you for hanging out with me today. My name is TuxedoBandido, and this was another episode of The Division 2. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to ensure you don't miss out on the fantastic experiences waiting for you in The Division 2. And if you like builds like this, check out the recommended build video I have here for you. If you have anything you want to see covered, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make everything possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be without you.
Follow me.
I get it.